Gen Z is cooked, and to be honest, I might be completely screwed too, because I'm a part of it. So there are three things I'm going to be touching on, and it has to do with empathy, purpose, and attention spans. And let's start with attention spans. So over the past few years, there's been an increasing trend in things like TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram. And you won't really notice how much it's actually impacted our lives until you actually look up and take a good look around you and see the people around you. Whether they're couples, family members, or just best friends, you'll notice that instead of actually looking at one another and acknowledging what the other person has to say while having an actual full-on conversation, they're either mindlessly scrolling through social media or half listening to what the other person has to say while thinking about what they want to say back instead of actually thinking about things from the other person's perspective about what their hobbies and interests are. The vast majority of conversations that I see in the modern world, primarily from Gen Z, my generation, is very short conversations or very low quality conversations. I could give an example. Say I was talking to somebody and I would say something interesting that's kind of something that would make them want to say something back or ask a question or make a comment, which would motivate me to say something back to them, and so on, kind of like that ping pong transition from one person to another. But what I would notice is that they were almost half listening, or they wouldn't even acknowledge what I would say. Sometimes I would say something or ask a question to someone, and they wouldn't even look at me. They would just kind of stare down like this, or they wouldn't even notice until I would have to tell someone something 4 or 5 times. That's how most people in our generation are. You have to tell them something 3, 4 times before they actually look up at you and acknowledge that you're talking to them, that you were asking them a question, that you're trying to have an actual interaction with them. I would rather somebody told me, "Hey, I'm kind of busy right now," than simply just like completely ignore you or not even be able to look up and actually acknowledge the people around you. And this isn't only something that happens to me, it happens to so many other people because I see it on a day-to-day basis. I'll be sitting in a group of people and somebody will be telling someone something and another person will politely ask a question and you'll be completely ignored. People are just too bothered to actually notice the things around them because of their fried attention spans. If you haven't noticed, things like YouTube Shorts are actually a thing now. Life was a lot better before 2020. YouTube Shorts didn't exist, but now that's making life a lot harder for us because all these social media companies and these companies that run things like TikTok, all these people in Silicon Valley understand how human psychology works and how our attention spans are a lot more cooked than before. So they create these things that make it so much more addictive. We spend so much more time on these shorts than actually absorbing a full-on video, which is a lot better, and you can actually learn a lot more from it. I mean, provided that it's actually educational. But these things are impacting how we think too. People say they don't like reading books, but in my opinion, that's complete bullshit. The true reason why they hate reading books is that because they're not actually able to sit down and absorb something that's sitting right in front of them. They're too self-absorbed and narcissistic, thinking about all these random things in their own minds, or just scrolling through social media, which is a common trend of the day. And that is very bad, and I think we need to work on it, and it's probably one of the worst aspects of our generation. Number 2, we're going to be moving on to empathy. What I'm noticing is that these things, the rise of technology, and just overall this whole social media fan base is creating something called narcissism or self-absorption. Narcissism, as I learned, is seeing other people as a means to an end, trying to always get something out of them based on what you want, not on what they want. And self-absorption is also more just focusing on yourself the whole time without actually acknowledging the people around you or seeing things from their perspective. Those are the two main traits that are what make up Gen Z as a whole. And this is also why people aren't able to have full-on interactions, because people are so focused and obsessed with themselves, how they look on social media, how they look when they take a snap of themselves, how they look in front of other people because of all this social media nonsense, that they can't actually look at the person in front of them and acknowledge what their hobbies are, what their vulnerabilities are, what their strengths and weaknesses are. That's one of the most important aspects of interacting with people, to actually learn about them, not to half-ass things and not actually listen to them. So that makes up empathy and narcissism. People are so emotionless. When I would go to school when I was a freshman or sophomore, I would see these bullies or these people that would give other people a hard time. And what I would notice is that these other people would literally retaliate. They would get mad. They would feel the pain of being messed with, of being made a joke. And these bullies, these people that made fun of them, and the bystanders watching, they would laugh. They would find joy out of it. They would find it entertaining. It was an absolute embarrassment of everybody there. I looked at them. I would see them messing with another person, laughing at them, giving them a hard time, saying some very like indirect things that meant something insulting. And when another person would get irritated, the other person would just continue doing it. People around would push for more bullying and to mess with other people. People lacked emotion. I didn't even see emotion when their eyes when they laughed at other people. I didn't actually see any feelings, any care, any empathy when somebody was being messed with in front of a group of people. Hell, the teachers didn't even care at some point. It's pretty much every school, you know. The bully messes with somebody else, everybody laughs, they don't have emotion or actually care for the other person. And when that person retaliates and says something back, the teacher gets mad at them. Oh, why are you starting fights? Why are you starting arguments? Well, it's because this other person has been messing with them the whole time, but nobody around them actually gave a damn to notice. Again, we lack empathy in Gen Z. We just spend the whole time, if you go to a gym, what you will notice is that almost everybody spends more time flexing in the mirror, looking at themselves in their own bodies, and actually working out. You'll see more cameras out than weights. Somebody walks in front of your camera, oh, this is my video. I'm recording myself because I'm a social media fitness influencer. My ass, you have like 20 followers and you're just so absorbed with your own self and focus on yourself and how your body looks instead of an actual human being with emotions that's walking in front of you. There are terms now like NPC that are created by Gen Z, which essentially means a person who's like a robot, who can't think, who's just an absolute dull person. We literally call people NPCs. We call human beings with emotions who have complete different perspectives NPCs. We call others names. We judge them without actually knowing who they are and what they think about. Just because of all this social media nonsense, or taking snaps of ourselves, posting ourselves on Instagram, just trying to make ourselves look better instead of actually caring about other people, instead of actually showing empathy for the people around us, which really pisses me off and really makes me think that Gen Z might be a failure if we don't do something about it. And the third and final thing that I'm going to touch on is a sense of purpose. One of the main things that I notice when I interact with people is that I sometimes can't even tell a person from one another. It's almost like they're all identical, whether if it's a male or female, whoever the hell it is. They're almost the same exact person. They talk using the same exact words, the same exact brain rot and slang that they learn on TikTok. They use those same terms, and it's just completely messed up that you can't tell another person from another person. And the reason why is because people have lost a sense of self or a sense of identity because they spend their whole lives scrolling through social media, listening to these quote-unquote alpha males like Andrew Tate, and forgetting who they actually are and what makes them unique. They get involved in this thing called the rat race, and it's all about making money without actually finding out what makes you stand out and what could actually make you successful and what you could do where you're actually passionate about it and not feeling like you're living a boring 9-to-5 every single day. And if you want to do a 9-to-5, that's fine, but if you're not actually looking at what your passion is and finding out what makes you different from other people, then you're pretty much living a lie. And that's one of the most important aspects of society. What other generations would do is they would actually find out what made them stand out. Albert Einstein, he's known for his intelligence, his ability to think about things differently. Giacomo Casanova, he was one of the best seducers. What he did is he found out what made another person tick or what another person was interested in. And he was actually able to show that he was interested. One of the most famous actors, Errol Flynn, he almost showed a sense of being non-judgmental, actually showing that he wasn't judging the other person or criticizing them, and it made the other person drop their resistance. Things like this, finding out what makes you stand out, is one of the most important things in our society, especially in Gen Z, and that is why we're completely screwed, because we don't even know why we're living. Everybody, most teenagers are just going to the gym and just trying to see who can bench more than the other person. I don't know, it's kind of nonsense that you're just all about, you make the gym your whole life, You make alpha male content your whole life, and you indulge yourself in all that nonsense, and you think that that's what your purpose is. But it's not true, because that's everybody else's purpose somehow. You don't know what makes you unique. You don't know what you actually truly enjoy doing, because all you do is scroll through social media all day and do a bunch of nonsense with your buddies, like judging other people or using all this random brain rot and slang that you find on TikTok. So you basically turn into a robot. You spend your whole life calling other people NPCs when you're literally the NPC, the person who can't even think for himself, who is unemotional when somebody else is struggling, who can't actually listen to another person when you're talking to them. And all these reasons, the fried attention spans, are lack of empathy, where we have no emotions and we just give others a hard time for no reason, like these nonsense YouTube pranksters on social media. Narcissism, self-absorption, a lost sense of identity and purpose are all the reason why Gen Z is screwed, and which is why all of us, I'm talking to all of you in our generation, we need to make a difference. If we don't do something now, if we don't create and spread a lot more awareness about these issues, if we don't put some new sorts of awareness methods into effect, then we might be screwed for eternity. But not only that, we are ruining humanity as a whole. If we don't make a change in our ability to interact with one another, which is why humanity was actually successful, then we will be the reason behind the downfall of humanity. Gen Z, we need to do better. So let's do something about it.